Overall, Selkie Stories Are for Losers is a good story. I was especially drawn in from the very first line of I hate Selkie stories for the main character. The main character with that line drew me in because now I wanted to know as a reader why she hated Selkie stories. And as I read, I found out why because it has to do with her mother, who apparently, if you pick up on the different things she says about her mom, was most likely a Selkie herself. And the main character had found a coat in the attic one day and showed it to her mother, and then her mother disappeared, leaving her father, and herself behind. This is one of the things that makes it relatable to the young adults in real life, is because they can relate to her about losing a parent in some way, whether the parent left or the parent passed away, and how they've had to deal with it, and possibly becoming a another adult in the house by going out and finding a job and helping out with the bills, and it just being her and her father. And in one section of the story, her dad, he comes in and she tells him about her mom leaving after finding the coat, and his reaction was like he knew her mom's secret, but they had never told her. And as the story unfolds, you kind of figure out that she is most likely a Selkie herself because of her mother, and they never told her because they wanted to spare her, maybe, and hopefully that she would never want to turn into one or find out about that side of herself. And so she's this young adult that's trying to help her dad out after her mom's left, and she gives little stories throughout the main story about Selkies and what happens when the person that is one leaves the family. And so it kind of makes you believe that's why she hates Selkie stories so much, because her mom left because her mom was one. The ending fits, as especially the last line when why she says that Selkie stories are for losers, and goes on to talk about how it's for ones who lose their keys, etc. And that whole section in the end really fits when she's talking about Selkies and how she took her cousin to the zoo, her little cousin to the zoo one time, and two seals there stood up and talked in a foreign language to her. So if she wasn't a Selkie herself, I don't think she would be able to understand that they were talking in a foreign language. The world building is there, and I think though with word limit, the word count limit, don't know if there was one or not. If there wasn't one, the world could have been built a little more, because as a reader I had questions of what her relationship was like with her mother before her mother left, what the city was like, what they lived in. Did they live near a beach? Did they live near a lake? Something that had to do with water, because that's where Selkies disappear to. So how far did her mother have to go to leave to get back to the water, etc. And why her mom left before telling her about who she was and how she could possibly be one herself and explain things. She just left high and dry without any explanation, and the father didn't seem like he really wanted to give an explanation, because maybe he really didn't know, but then again maybe he did. So overall it was a very good story and interesting, and readers I think would really find it interesting, and it could do with some improvement on like the world building in certain areas of the story. And there was one area that was talking about another character's mom, and it was just like right in the middle of the story and really had nothing to do with that part of the story. I think if the author had moved it somewhere else or introduced the other character's mother in a little earlier segment leading up to that, it wouldn't have seemed so jarring. And overall though, I believe young adults would more be able to relate to the characters than, and some adults most likely would be able to as well, as because a lot of adults have had parents leaving, etc., and they know what